I'm Sid.
And I'm Mike.
And this is Comedy Filmmakers Motivation Monday.
The podcast.
And I'm Carl.
What's up, Carl?
Hey, guys. Wow. It's great to be here.
It is great to be here. Great to be back.
We're doing all kinds of stuff. We're upgrading. We're changing it up. We're doing lots of new things.
This is a special edition today.
We changed to Filmic Pro on the thing, so that's big. We're gonna talk shop right away.
You want to watch
Mike. You want to watch YouTube and look at. We've stepped up our game visually.
What game are we stepping up? Let's tell everybody.
It's the visual game.
This camera over here, Black Magic.
Yeah, Filmmakers, baby. So what is Comedy Filmmakers Motivation Monday? Well, I'm going to just break it down real quick.
Thank you, Carl.
We are the comedy filmmakers. We are making comedy, and we are pitching it to TV networks and producers and showrunners, and we're going to get a show.
We're going to get a show.
But this podcast is our documentation of that process.
And we're going to help motivate each other and motivate you, the audience, and we'll demystify the process along the way.
And honest... Whoa.
Wow, right out of the gate. Guys, by the way, if you were playing the drinking game version of Comedy Filmmakers Motivation Monday,
which you should be,
take a shot every time Sid says honestly.
I'm not saying it anymore.
We're not going to make it through the night.
I want to say that there is self-awareness and then there's podcast playback self-awareness and baby, we got work to do, okay? Right. Because I'm seeing all the jargon that I use and it's baffling me.
Honestly, it doesn't bother me at all.
See, I can't not hear it.
I didn't even hear it that time.
It's been a great week.
That's amazing.
And this podcast is helping me. It does motivate me. So I can speak from experience that this shit works.
Yes. If you're having trouble in your life, start a podcast. I think that's probably...
If you're not having trouble in your life, please hit me up and tell me what you're doing right. All right, guys.
That's too good.
Focus up.
I had an interesting week too. I had a lot of fun. I had a little birthday weekend to celebrate. Not my birthday, but my dear wife. And
it was a blast.
Yeah, we had a good time. Unfortunately, there was a bully at the party that we were at who was making fun of my shoes. Everybody else there seemed to like them, but one person in particular, who shall remain.
I'll be dropping a photo of these shoes in the show notes.
Yeah,
okay.
If you're watching on YouTube,
everyone knows why I was being so vocal.
If you're watching on YouTube, here's a shot of the shoes right there. Mike, what about you?
Oh man, well, we got deep into the podcast stuff this past week, and it's been amazing. We started our Patreon. We started making content for it, which we did the other night together, and it was really fun reading sketches, and we got a little tipsy. So you pay a little extra on the Patreon, and you will see us get tipsy and read sketches that we plan to shoot one day.
Yeah, Crossfaded Sid is free. Crossfaded Mike and Carl, you got to pay per view there.
Premium. That is premium.
Yeah, Crossfaded Sid made her debut a few weeks ago.
Yeah. And, you think she'll be coming back?
Later. Maybe, probably not.
Wonderful. Well, that's fun. Like Mike said, check out the Patreon. We're going to put the link in the show notes. And it's also, you can find it on Google or Bing.
Bing! I use Bing.
Bing, baby.
Ask ChatGPT about the Sid and Mike Patreon.
We're brought to you by
I don't know what they're going to say about it.
So this week.
Tell us, Carl.
We're going to talk a little bit about a piece of advice that we got a while back. And we've talked about this piece of advice on the show a couple of times with different guests. Today, we're actually going to talk with the guest who gave us that advice. So the advice was take stock. And at the time, we had been asking for some advice on how to go from having made a bunch of successful videos that played on Instagram and YouTube and other social medias into the world of making our own TV show. Like, how do we cross that threshold? And we were getting no help.
No help. Lots of keep
doing what you're doing.
Yeah. You guys, a few episodes back was keep doing what you're doing, and you can listen to that to find out how much that triggers us.
But our guest today broke the cycle, and he gave us some advice that we took stock in, and it really did. It really reshaped the way that we were looking at things, and it kind of like cleared a path forward.
I agree.
And it's something that now I do in my personal life, which is helpful.
That's a good point too. So, I mean, we could sit here and kind of figure out like what taking stock meant to us then, or we could just kind of like take a break right now, hear from our sponsor, and then bring our guest on.
Hell yeah.
Get right into it.
Let's do Plan B.
I love it.
Whoa.
Wait,
Whoa.
I meant the second option.
Oh no, I'm late.
Oh, well then you should take Plan B.
Plan B? What?
Of course, everyone knows about Plan B.
What's Plan B?
It's the new ride-sharing app.
It's taking over Uber. It's taking over Lyft.
Oh my goodness, that's so great because I can never get a car on Uber and Lyft and I'm always running late and this is a miracle.
Never be late again.
Thank you, Plan B.
Absolutely. If you wake up the morning after a big night and you need a ride, call Plan B.
This is perfect.
We're back.
Gosh, we have the best sponsors.
Yeah,
Really?
This has been great. This has been a really successful run of getting different sponsors. And, you know, you always hear people having stamps.com. And I'm glad, I mean, like, not that I have anything against stamps.com. Like, please give us a call. Yeah. But it's been great to have such a varied
I didn't tell
sponsors.
you. They sent us an email, so we're set.
Oh, not a rejection email.
No, they're on board.
Are you telling us we got accepted?
We got accepted.
That's amazing.
Hey.
Well, that speaking of accepted, that brings me to our next guest. He's the director of Accepted and Hot Tub Time Machine and Hot Tub Time Machine 2, and most recently The Wheel. And he also happens to be the executive producer of the future hit sketch comedy show Sid and Mike. It's Steve Pink.
Hey, Steve.
Hey. Hi, Steve. You look so excited.
I am excited. I mean, well, you know, this is this like I have like resting dour face, but I'm going to project into the future. Like, this is the podcast where I haven't seen you guys since like episode 100 of your like successful series. And so now I'm back because I feel bad. I miss you guys. So this is like 100 episodes in. I miss you guys.
It is so good to see you.
Yeah.
It has been so long.
Look, I mean,
So
I don't know
awesome.
if there's anything that we need to like clear the water about because it's been a while, but like we really appreciate you coming back on the show, and I think it's, you know, it's kind of this full circle moment for us, you know.
It is. I mean, you know, with the kind of success you guys are having, you know, I'm just so proud, you know. There was a while when I wasn't proud because I was just like, you guys got so unbearable, I have to say, in terms of like the level of success you had. Mainly like
It was Mike. Let's be honest. It was Mike.
Look, I grinded in my 30s and I didn't party at all to get to where we are now, and I'm going to fucking party, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to apologize for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna party on set. I mean,
I'll party on set.
Football players do it.
Yeah, speaking of that, that's like, it was the season, I think it was like your premiere season 6 party that I couldn't get into.
Dude, that was a dope one.
Yeah. And then Mike was like, don't let him in. And I was like, but I thought the doorman didn't know it was a bit. You know what I mean? That was weird. And then I didn't know if it was a bit.
Right. Yeah.
Right, like he walked past me, he was like, don't let him in. I was like, ha, funny. I'm one of the executive producers of the show. And then...
Right.
And then Mike's like, and I'm like, no, he's kidding. Like, I'm one of the...
Yeah, that was a bit. Yeah, that was a bit, you know?
I believe that we've broken the world record for lies and silly stuff right now.
Yeah.
Lies and silly stuff.
I leave it to it used to be Steve asking us, like, should you guys maybe be serious for a second and like help people catch up to what you're talking about at all?
Lies and silly stuff is too tempting. I had a really fun time last night.
Wow, so did I. Thanks.
No problem. Oh, I ordered you a Plan B.
Why would I need that?
Well, Plan B isn't just for women anymore.
Huh?
It's a new ride-sharing app to take you home.
Wait, what do I have to pay for this ride?
Nothing, just the tip.
Oh, that's amazing. Thanks so much.
Stay safe while you're getting from one destination to the next.
With Plan B.
It's not just for women anymore. Welcome back to Comedy Filmmakers Motivation Monday 2029. We are celebrating our 7th season, and
I'm so proud of us.
We are here with Steve Pink, and we are going to roll it back to 2023, and we are going to go back to our first episode that we ever shot with Steve, and we're going to just play that like a clip episode, and we'll comment on it as we go. How's that sound, guys?
That sounds great.
Here we go. back. Steve, does that sound good to you here in 2029?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Great.
Because I remember that we were so innocent and we were like, oh, so hopeful and inspired and everything.
Right. We all had that terrible rash, though. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was awful.
Carl, you got it the worst.
Yeah.
It was on your face.
We hired a color correction person to get rid of the rash on all of us for the footage. So anyway, we're back here with Steve Pink, and we're rolling the tape on the 2023 episode.
I think that we should talk a little bit about how we met.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you.
Don't. Don't tell them.
Honestly,
you're gonna reveal our shame.
Just say it.
Fine.
Just say it, Sid.
Reveal our shame.
Just say it.
we're all a little
fine.
embarrassed, okay? So it's taking a second to get out. But there was this era, of time. We're talking about history right now. Okay, there was this block of time during the pandemic that we don't name or talk about because it just.
And I'm going to stop the recording for just a second here in 2029. I just wanted to remind the listeners that back in 2020 and 2021, there was a COVID-19 pandemic. You might not remember that. During that time, people were locked in their houses. That's just a little context from 2029. Anyway, I'm going to press play on the episode.
Most of the
again.
Sid and Mike audience hadn't even been born yet.
So I was just talking about history.
All right. Anyway, so rolling back into that episode.
So it was Clubhouse. I know everybody braced yourself. I just threw it right in there. I didn't give anyone any time to prepare to hear that name again. It's been a long time. I know. I can't even begin to talk about this app, honestly.
There it is. Take a shot. All right. I'll start.
No. She said, honestly, I didn't even hear it. I don't even hear it.
It's not that bad. We were locked in our homes, and we
locked it. We couldn't get out.
We were desperate for something to do to connect with other humans, and we found the app Clubhouse. It's an audio chat app, and we started digging into the filmmaking industry side of it. And what did we find there?
It was a hellscape. It was a hellscape of people that were claiming to be professionals and claiming to have experience and knowledge that and they were really representing themselves very well until you looked them up and then they were not what they said that they were.
Yeah, but Steve, did you think it was a hellscape or did you love it? What was your experience on this app?
Well, first of all, I was, desperately lonely like the rest of civilization, right? So then I was like, oh, sports and astrology and I was like, I don't do that. I don't do astrology. Hey, entertainment. That's cool. What's entertainment? Hey. And then I just kept going down the rabbit hole until there's industry talk. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm desperately lonely. I'll go into an industry talk room.
We definitely gravitated towards you in those rooms because you were funny. You were very funny in there.
Well, so we did find ourselves in some industry talk rooms, and we got bamboozled. I mean, we thought these people have something to tell us. We waited in that room for an hour and a half for Sid to get up and pitch our material, and then for everyone to tell us,
keep doing what you're doing.
I haven't been that frustrated. I mean, it was like someone that had made 2 short films being like, you should really get your followers up. You should really. Anyway, we got catfished. Well, I thought we were getting catfished by you, Steve, when you DM'd me and Mike to say, hey, I heard you talking and your stuff is cool.
Were you catfishing us, Steve?
Yeah. I just felt accountable afterwards. I was like, you can't just toy with people like a sociopath that's just mean spirited. Even though I had done that, prior to you guys, there's there was Tammy and Dave, right? There was Marsha and Rick.
Yeah.
Those guys, I was like, hey, you guys are a really fun comedy team. And then I just blew them off.
What's funny? Marsha and Tammy have a podcast now where they talk about Great British Bake Off.
Right. Yeah. I've heard they're super talented.
It's hilarious. You can feel your influence.
Thank you. But I got no royalty. I didn't know that you guys had to wait an hour and a half. I was just on the stage, literally, I did feel that there was a possible world where I was slowly loading a revolver while I was on, Clubhouse, so that there could be but then it's like you parted the audio clouds. So I was like, I was like, I don't mean to be judgmental, but it was just horrible in every way for the most part. People weren't saying interesting things, and worse, they weren't saying interesting things in an interesting way. So it was like a double boredom whammy where you're just like, wait, you just said something that had no content, and the way you said it was also like free of entertainment. So I want to kill myself. And then, I don't know, did you guys both start talking? Something was going on when you guys were talking, or maybe it was just you.
Sid
No.
was just Sid was going for it, and
But you checked out the material.
Yeah.
But you checked out the material, and then also we started our own room shortly thereafter. We were all the three of us said, we will not do that again. We're not doing this app in that way. We're going to start our own room and do our own thing. And that
What
is
do we
how
call that
Comedy Filmmakers Motivation Monday.
Yep, every Monday.
And that is, now we're here. Look at you.
Now, these episodes are usually just under an hour. Back then, how long was a comedy film?
I think the longest one was like 7 hours one time or something.
crazy.
They would go long.
That room also could have been called Lies and Silly Stuff.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to roll it back to the thing. We didn't get into the
topic?
actual meeting. Like we met him on Clubhouse, and he contacted us,
Right. Yeah.
and he said,
We had a call.
yeah,
We had
Zoom
a
call.
A Zoom call.
And that was a long one. That
Yeah.
was like a 3 or 4 hour Zoom call.
It was?
But on that call,
Yeah, you also were chasing after your cats for a bit, so that took up a little bit of the time, which
Oh,
we
yeah.
learned would happen on every Zoom meeting. And now, we love those cats and we're used to it. And
we were
It's great.
chopping it up, though. We were having a good time, and had a really positive, back and forth. And during that meeting, you gave us a piece of advice, and that piece of advice was take stock. And for people who had made like 45 sketches at the time and had done a lot of writing, a lot of sketches that they hadn't made, we had developed a pilot, we had developed
at that
short,
point in time, we had a series that we were looking to do.
yeah, so we had
And
all
that's
this
what we were
stuff.
talking about. Yep.
And we needed to know what our next step could be, and you said to take stock. Now, what does that mean? Because we still haven't figured it out.
Well, I'm sure I was making it up, first of all, obviously. I mean, obviously I was making that up.
since none of us
and-
know what it means.
Well, I was probably projecting as well. I'm sure I was projecting. Because like I hate taking stock. Like there's nothing I hate more than taking stock. And I guess if I were to say like what's taking stock mean, I'd say like, okay, like I'm spending a certain amount of creative hours either a day or a week doing like X, say, right? But then I just have a tendency to do all of those things week after week after week.
Hang on.
You look confused.
Yeah, no, because I immediately after that meeting, I ran out the door, like masked up. Of course, this was 2021, masked up, gloved up, put on all my like plastic suit, and I went to the store, and I had a backpack, and I just put a bunch of like vegetable broth and chicken broth and stuff in a bag, and I ran out of the store before anyone. So I thought you meant take stock.
Yeah, and I think that Mike, you also did because you had your Costco toilet paper situation there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I went to Costco. I loaded up on a toilet paper and all the stock that they had.
Oh, I see. So I was like talking about like how to evaluate like your creative inspirations, and you guys just thought I had said go make soup.
Well, no,
Oh.
I went back and I watched all of our videos.
That's
Sid
right.
did it.
Sid came back and she said, "Guys, I took stock." And I said, "So did I." And I held up a couple of soups, and Mike said, "So did I. I've got all the toilet paper in New York City stocked up in my stockpiled."
And I said, "Look at all this stuff we've made."
What did we figure out with that taking stock moment? In
that
reality?
we didn't need weed. We were doing stoner comedy, and I think that was actually a pivotal point for us to just. You said, Steve, that we didn't need it, that we were funny enough, and that was so nice of you. And now look at us,
Oh.
we have a podcast.
Which I'm on.
I don't want to alienate any listeners who come here just for the weed. Don't worry, there's still going to be that kind of vibe.
There's a little pipe right there.
Yeah,
I
but-
smoked right.
At the time, we didn't even know how to put our foot forward. Like, what did we want to focus on? And so we realized that what we had been doing for all those years was sketch comedy. And so we started developing a sketch comedy show,
Mhm.
and that's what we are pitching now, and that's what we are, selling in the streets of LA and New York. in Atlanta. And there's actually a pretty good film scene in North Carolina, I've heard.
Well, I love that you're ascribing to me like words of wisdom that actually you just said out loud. Like when we were in those Zooms, I don't know if you guys realize this, you were just like, we fucking, can you swear? We fucking doing fucking stoner comedy, fucking stoner comedy. I'm like,
That's me.
Maybe, okay,
right
stop
now.
doing it. And you're like, genius. Like, okay, but you guys found a lot of success doing it. You don't want to do it anymore. I don't know. Stop doing it. Do something else. Like, and you guys were like, awesome. So yeah, let's put this to bed.
We can do that.
Which is kind of like, I guess, appropriately stoner. But yeah, I said nothing to you that you didn't know. So I'm not allowing you guys to ascribe any wisdom on me.
No.
I think that's no.
You absolutely had a really big impact, because I don't think that we saw ourselves that way. I knew personally I was a little intimidated by all of the the solid sketch work that had come before us. But when I looked back at everything that we had done, at our body of work, and I really looked at the sketch comedy that we made, I said, we're fucking really good sketch comedy writers, performers, producers, and directors.
Say it again.
We are really good sketch writers, producers, directors, and performers.
You hear that, UTA?
They're hearing this. They're hearing this.
Yeah. It's
Loud
running
and
through the
clear.
speakers, right? It's running through the like the
It is.
intercoms at the building, right?
And just like that,
Yeah,
the
in the
audio went
hallways.
out.
Yeah.
Thank you to Sasha, our producer, for setting up the audio to run through the intercoms at UTA.
Thank you, Sasha.
Well, we made a joke about this earlier, but I really do want to know, how did you get started? We're a lot of our listeners are trying to break into the creative industry, and like, what are some things that you can do to get started, and what are some things that you did to get started?
Well, now you're putting me in one of those clubhouse rooms.
I
Well,
know.
here. Let
You
me
can
see.
make
Let me
it
answer.
up.
I'll do the
You
clubhouse
can say whatever
answer.
you want.
First of all, you have to have a dream. And then you're going to have to figure out how to make that dream, wait for it, a reality.
I think I'm asking more like practically, like, what can you practically do to start making some moves?
Nobody has a good answer. Nobody has a good answer to that question, I don't think.
His experience would be different from someone coming up now for sure. But
well, yeah,
I
because
think-
we had just gotten electricity, right?
Right.
So there's only electricity,
yeah.
I don't know, like 2 or 3
you
times
figured
a
out
week, and
agriculture.
Well, you got
Yeah,
started right when
yeah.
the talkies started, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. And we were like,
So
like
you
yeah,
were like, I'm willing to deal with sound, and they were like, he's hired, bring him on.
right. Because we're like, wait, it's so much more
Dialogue?
interesting. And people talk. Yeah, I can hear their voice. But wait, mine's squeaky, so now I won't have a career.
Did you direct the Charlie Chaplin movie Hot Tub?
I did.
It's just
I did. I'm
hot
so
tub.
glad you saw that.
Yeah,
It's a classic.
good.
it's great.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
It is a classic.
But I just to touch on what Mike is saying is that the thing for me, and maybe this is that you don't know it because it came from you in a way, is that when we started talking to you and having more serious conversations about how to make this happen, I finally felt like I understood something about how this industry works that I never understood before, that made me feel like I actually had a foot in the door of the industry for the first time. And I don't know if that's just because you actually do have all that knowledge and it's just there, and like you've lived that life, and talking to us, it was like, oh, we needed to meet somebody who has done it, because I think that was one of the things that we hadn't done yet in a way where we could actually just like call you and text you, like if we had a question.
Also, you definitely spoke our language. Like we feel like we've talked to so many people that do work in the industry, and they're successful, and that they're funny. You can be the funny kind of weird kid, and you feel out of place.
I was super cool.
No. Again, I wasn't going to let that one slide. But it was nice. It felt like, oh, we're not crazy. We don't just think that we're funny, even though we'd had online success or whatever.
I think that's right. I mean, look, I mean, one of the things, well, like there's first of all, meeting me, of course, made you quickly understand that, you were easily as talented, and why was I a working industry professional and you weren't? So that's like a barrier cutter, like right
First
there.
thing we
right?
said when we got off the
You
phone with
said
Right,
it.
you just like
I
you're just
didn't.
shooting.
He's just like us.
You just shoot. Exactly. He's just like us. So you're just shooting the gap immediately. But I actually mean that also in earnest, right? Like people don't realize there are no barriers actually. Like there's this sense that like some, whatever, like level of exceptional talent or skill is needed to walk through the door. And then once you walk through the door, there's this kind of like golden aura that surrounds all these people, which gives them this like extra level of talent. And that's, in a way how the industry seems to, that how it appears when you're approaching it. But of course, that's nonsense, right? And so, yeah, I tell everyone and anyone, I'm like, yeah, people like, there's that like, oh, everyone's got a script. I'm like, yeah, and that script is bound to be as good as any other, actually. It's like it's always used as a pejorative, like, oh, everybody's got like a comedy act or something.
You can say a podcast.
Everyone's got a podcast.
You hear that a lot.
Yeah. It's like, so I feel like, why isn't yours as good as anyone else's, and why not you, and all that kind of stuff. So, but also, I think you actually have to be funny. And interested in things, and interested in being you're funny by virtue of your like view of the world. And you guys have like a unique and hilarious view of the world. And that's what makes you super funny. I think that's, if we're going to be serious on this podcast, this will be the serious part of the serious 30 seconds of the podcast. I would say that like you're funny, but it's your unique like view of the world that comes first. That's what I noticed when I was listening to you, Sid. I was like, oh, you have like a really interesting perspective. And because of that perspective, things that are funny come from that. Like otherwise, like people, just trying to be, that's, to me, it's always starts with your worldview. And the fact that you guys actually have one is what makes you guys incredibly funny. I don't think it's the opposite. I think that's why it's funny to me. So, and why you guys are able to create so much great stuff, because you always have like a point of view. That's why I think you're great.
We're going to set you up to tell us that a few more times throughout this episode. Just don't you worry about that.
That was one of the best Clubhouse answers I've ever heard.
Thank you. Also, it's It's Motivation Mondays.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
That was your motivator. That was your motivator for Monday.
I'm feeling motivated. Did you want to take your song break now?
All right, so it's time for me to sing a Disney song to like break things up. Were you ever in the rooms where they did that on Clubhouse? Where at some point, yeah, someone just starts singing a whole new world or something.
I can show you the world.
We did it. Wow, well done, Sid. You talked about taking a serious shift in the interview, and that I feel like is a wonderful segue into this question that I wrote.
Good job, Carl.
As far as material goes, The Wheel, which was your feature that came out last year, and it did really well at Toronto Film Festival.
Yeah, speaking of hilarious.
I was reading that the producer of that film, Josh Jason, is someone that you met as a PA on the set of a commercial.
That's right.
Folks, that's lingo. What's a PA?
Production assistant.
What rung on the ladder is a PA?
They are the backbone of a production.
I thought you were going to say they're the person carrying the ladder. They're not rung on the ladder.
They're like the floor that everyone's walking on.
Anyway, you were on the set with this PA, Josh Jason.
He brought you a great cup of coffee that you never forgot.
He must be talented.
Apparently on this commercial, there was like some snafu, some big problem on the commercial that needed to be solved. You recognized that he could actually help you solve it, even though he was a PA, and you said something like, "You're a smart guy. I don't need you getting me coffee. I need you to be a filmmaker."
This is a true story.
A few weeks later, he brings you a script for a drama that's fully financed and asks you to direct it because you believed in him. So, question, was that your plan the whole time?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally, because I heard from another PA they had a really good script.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you were like, all right, I'm going to buddy up to this guy. Get me
totally buddy up to this guy. I need a drama. If I don't get a drama soon.
Yeah, diversify my portfolio. So how do you recognize when you're dealing with somebody who's talented like that? Is it something that you've always been good at?
It's pretty easy to tell, I think. It's pretty easy to tell because like people who like weirdos, right? Like people who are interesting, people who are weird,
The
people
weird
who don't
kids,
like
yeah,
weirdos. Like he's a weirdo. Like he's clearly a weirdo. And Weirdo Game recognizes Weirdo Game.
I have a question about that project.
Well, just before we move on, I was wondering if you could help us brainstorm a whiter sounding name than Josh Jason.
Oh yeah,
Josh Jason, maybe the most white guy sounding name I've ever heard. Could we?
Yeah,
maybe
Carl Conway McGuire.
Yeah. Oh, that's
she
good.
went there.
But I feel like also
another picture of those shoes right there.
Josh Jason. Wow, that's hard to say.
Right.
Just
yeah, Josh Jason.
have it.
It's
Josh
almost
Jason.
impossible to
Josh
say.
Jason.
he's our next guest.
Yeah,
We're gonna bring him
Josh,
on.
if you're listening, hi, friend of
We're
future
gonna-
friend of the show,
We're gonna
Josh
give you a
Jason.
call. But I have a question about making something serious versus making a comedy.
And it is serious, by the way. I mean,
Oh my God.
that's a gut wrencher, man. What were you trying to do?
So what was that?
I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, I actually didn't know. I thought it would be easier. Like we started shooting that movie and I would like watch the scenes and be like, this could be an SNL sketch. Like they're so serious.
Because
They're being so serious
the
right now.
stakes are so high.
Yeah, the stakes are so high. I was like, this could be like a parody of a pharmaceutical like commercial right now. So like then I was like, oh wait, I don't know how to direct a drama. So then I had to figure it out. Yeah, I really did. I had to like change how I was shooting it, change pretty much everything after the first day because I was like, wait a minute, this is. I found everything today hilarious, and that's not right. That's not okay. It's not supposed to be funny.
I wrote a question. How did you know that you wanted to become a director?
Can I answer that question with a question?
It should be a prepared question. You should have pulled out.
Yeah, I know. I actually do have a question. I'm going to answer that question with a question after my answer. And my answer is I was in a theater company and I was an actor in the theater company for the first 2 plays. And I realized in like one like devastatingly kind of existential moment that I was terrible, and that everyone around me was actually really good. Many of whom like went on to have huge careers.
Name drop.
What'd you say?
Name drop.
Yeah, you could just look them up. Well, like Hope Davis for one, like she's amazing.
Yeah, that's my mom.
Future friend of the show.
Yeah, she's fantastic. But lots of actors. But anyway, I was like, if I'm not as good as them now and they're that good, I'm never going to catch up. And I was like, but wait, if I can identify what a good actor is, then maybe I can.
A director is born.
Yes, director's born. It's like I can tell them to go like upstage and downstage and stuff instead of like trying to get them to act and trying to me act. Instead of me acting, I can get them to act just by saying, "Hey, like you guys are really good actors. Go do like really cool actory things," and then I'll say that was really good, and then I'll be a director. Honestly, that's how I started. So then I started directing the plays in our theater company.
Nice.
I was like, I'm a director now.
Was that in Chicago?
Yeah, that was in Chicago.
What was the name of the theater?
New Crime Productions, which was then also our film company when we made our first couple of movies.
Right. Did you say you have a question for us?
Yes, the question is, what's up with the movie you're writing for me to direct?
I know where that came from.
Inside the room.
I feel like that was a planted question.
We should be meeting on a Zoom like once a week where we break story on this idea so that then you have like writing assignments during the week.
I could cry. I'm so excited.
This
right now.
is why we started a podcast. This is the kind of stuff that people come to the YouTube.
Yeah,
to
they're
see
gonna
us
listen.
work
They're gonna
out.
hear us talk about setting up Zoom calls. They're gonna be like,
We're definitely leaving this.
taking
in.
fucking notes.
This is how the business happens. This is the industry.
This
You want to
is
be
a
a
sausage.
filmmaker? Get ready to do a lot of this.
Yep, that's right. When are we meeting?
I just can't believe how well our plan worked. I am just absolutely shocked. And Sasha, that was really great. I'm seeing the other things that you're like trying to put up on the screen, but I'm ignoring them.
Our producer Sasha is Zoom chatting us this time to tell us what he wants us to do.
He wants us to move along. And
Yeah, we should move along. No one's watching this. No one's going to care. This is a terrible podcast, isn't it?
I think we just had our promo line.
This is a terrible podcast.
Terrible podcast, isn't it?
I mean, no, because of me. I don't mean it's a terrible podcast.
that
No,
was-
let me rephrase.
was
This
too
is a
late.
terrible episode.
I know an editor.
No.
Hold on. This is a terrible
Terrible.
episode of a podcast.
No one's listening to this anyway. This is a terrible podcast, isn't it? Boom. That was it. I can like
That is the promo. You just
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I think I'll be able to splice you together also saying like I started COVID on purpose and stuff. I'm an editor,
that's
man.
good.
I'll get in there
That's
and
good.
I'll make it happen.
I tried the backstory. It didn't even work. I was trying to like, help like give you little sound bites and I'm not even good at it.
Steve,
This is
This doesn't have to air. This is the thing. Right now, this exists only in like
It's gonna
some
air.
metaphysical space that's not real. Like
This is
no one ever has to see this ever.
but
This is fucking gold.
I live my life waiting for like two parallel lines to intersect. And
it'll never happen.
It's gonna be the parallel line where this just exists, and then the parallel line where it exists live to everyone in the universe. And that's gonna happen in a few weeks. Then I'm getting
You're thinking
excited.
of perpendicular now. We're going to turn these parallel lines perpendicular.
That's what I'm talking about.
Like in a
Like this.
convergence.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. They're going to come together. Everyone's going to hear it. They're going to be like, "Oh my god, why am I watching this? This is the worst podcast."
Actually, you bring up a good point. If you live in the universe where we didn't release this podcast, I'm sorry. You can find it on Patreon. But if you live in the universe where we did release this episode, well, enjoy. I wanted to bring it back to take stock. And I know that this is sort of a rehash of we're asking you, what would you tell someone who's just starting out kind of thing. I want to marry those two questions. How does anyone, it doesn't matter if you're just starting out, how does anyone stop and take stock? And this is a question for everybody. Like, how does anyone just stop and take stock where at any given moment? Because we had to do it again when we decided to do this podcast, because we had written a sketch. We had spoken to a DP. What's a DP?
Director of photography.
Thank you.
Bam.
Dancing Penguin.
Oh, right. Yeah. Check out dancingpenguins.com. We had spoken to a DP about shooting this sketch. We were all a little gung-ho about it. And then we looked at it and we were like, wait, why? Why are we going to spend money and use our creative energy in this way to do one 5-minute thing that we'll post and it will get however many views and then we'll be back to the drawing board? Like, what is something that's more sustainable? And that is the reason that we are here.
And on this podcast, I have to say, as horrible as it is to listen to, it has been so helpful for us to make. And I started the year off feeling honestly depressed and didn't know what we were doing, feeling very crazy, feeling uninspired. And it has been so fun and so motivating to get together every week and make jokes and also talk about how we're not crazy, or we are, but to keep doing it.
So tell us what to do next.
Well, I can't believe I used the phrase take stock. I kind of like it now. I feel like
Because we've said it 30 times.
it's starting to grow on me since I supposedly said it to you. I think that like I'm always surprised by how much I absolutely loathe most of what I'm doing. And then, but I just keep doing it. And just like and then I'm like, I'm unhappy. Like, why am I so unhappy? Like, and so then like, if I were to take stock, though I hate doing that because that would actually mean I'd have to confront everything that I'm doing to make my life worse. If I'm actually forced to, and I was like, oh, you're young, I can force you to. And then first of all, I won't have to do it. You'll have to do it. So right away, if I tell you to take stock, then I don't have to take stock. And I've already won like the psychological battle. But I would say like to the extent to which one does take stock, I quite frankly am always surprised at how much I realize I need to stop doing stuff that I don't like. And I need to start doing stuff that I do like and that has some value in my life. And so you guys as artists, it just seemed like pretty clear that it's just a good exercise, especially since you're all working together. And when you guys at a certain point, at any point actually, that you were expressing frustration, that's just my go-to. I'm like, well, wait, you're really talented, you're having lots of fun, but you're frustrated. Why? Okay, well, there must be something going on that is like totally making you unhappy that you actually are spending time doing. Stop doing that. So like, we could also be like a really great 12-step program, for artists as well. But I do think it's important, and by the way, I'm totally guilty of it. Like I am currently doing a number of creative things I don't want to be doing at the expense of a couple of things I really want to be doing. So I'm really actually personally frustrated and mad at myself.
For me, for us, because we've had a lot of iterations and chapters of Sid and Mike and Carl, and we pivot a lot. and the taking stock leads to a pivot of, okay, who are we now? How are we together? What do we want to make? And how do we move in that direction?
Shout out to patreon.com/SidandMike if you want to help us fund some of this stuff. Everything will get better the more Patreon subscribers we have.
I
Trust
thought
us.
that you were going to say that I went on a tangent, so you're going to cut it and just put it on Patreon.
Speaking of sketches that you don't, that we haven't done, that we need the money to pay for, I'm currently offering funding for one particular sketch.
We're ready. We actually,
we're ready. Pre-pro starts right now.
Right now. This was the kickoff meeting. We're so happy.
Sasha, will you line produce? Sasha's nodding yes. He will line produce the sketch.
Thank you, Sasha.
Awesome.
Yes.
We just need a building, right? That's all we need is a building.
Just a building.
With a parking lot.
Just a building.
Parking deck.
An office.
Mm-hmm.
Much like the office you're in right
I think
now.
maybe UTA said that we could actually use their spot.
This is turning into a Zoom call.
Oh, right. So I'm turning into another Zoom call. So we have two things on the docket. We have the sketch that I'm funding for very specific reasons. And then,
that was an inside joke.
and then the movie that that you have to start writing.
There is something we do on this show every episode, and it is called fake pitches. And we will prompt ourselves with 2 words from a random piece. Sasha, let us know in the chat if you've got something lined up for that. Otherwise, we've got something here, and we will pitch a TV show or a movie or any kind of property
or anything.
We do it together, or spin the wheel. We just kind of all throw in. Is that the deal?
Every week we do it a little differently, and so this week I'm thinking that we could all build on to the same pitch, and see what kind of big story we come up with. As we're the entire creative team, except Sid is the executive in these
I'm
situations.
always, whenever we do one of these building on scenarios and where we work as a team, I'm here in my corner office, and I always say like, "Yay, this is great," or "We have to pass." And sometimes I say, "I'll tell you next episode," or "I'll tell you a few episodes from now."
Or keep doing what you're doing.
Or sometimes I say it's a yes, and then they don't know, but in a few episodes from now, I'm going to tell them it's a no. And here's our wheel.
Right.
So we'll spin the wheel.
The wheel is spinning. The wheel is spinning.
Oh, here it is.
Oh, of course.
Chat GPT. All right, I'll do it on my computer. I'm going to ask the Chat GPT to give us 2 random words.
Fab. Okay.
It's carnival and melancholy. Now, this is inspiration. This is not the title of the property, but carnival and melancholy. I think they already made this show, and it was called Carnival. So HBO, sorry, we're coming.
That's Bobby you're talking about? That was the show on HBO with where he was the record executive. That's what you're thinking of.
Oh.
Bobby Cannavale.
Oh, Bobby.
Yeah, and then there's also the corresponding Melancholia, which was Lars von Trier. So
that was,
like this ground, ChatGPT is so unoriginal.
You're thinking of Vinyl. I think was the name of that show.
It.
All right, so Carnival and Melancholy, we're building onto the same pitch, and we're trying to sell this to Sid. Whoever wants to take over, please get right on there.
All right, it's
okay.
This is okay. Go ahead, Steve.
No, you go. No, you
Steve,
go.
You're our guest.
Right.
You're our guest. You're our guest.
Just so you know, this is a part of the pitch. Like having them argue at the beginning is actually a part of the pitch. Like I know it's sometimes silly when people do that.
Carnival and Melancholy are an aardvark and a turtle, right? Who somehow like lost their families and communities and were like cast into the world like alone, right? And scared and like, possibly in danger until one day and like on the mean streets of Cleveland, Carnival ran into Melancholy. I think Carnival, what did I say? Is it an aardvark and a turtle? I already forgot.
And a turtle.
And a turtle. The aardvark was like accused of like robbing a bank. Carnival was like, "Oh, look at that aardvark! It must have stolen all the bank's money." And Carnival was like, "That's not possible. I'm a small, mammal. There's no way I would have like the ability nor intelligence to understand what you're even saying. So I just wanted to go somewhere where it was warm. But yet the bank people were like, you robbed this bank. So suddenly
is this a movie
aardvark,
or is it a TV show?
I think it's animated feature.
Okay, feature. So are we talking Act 1? Is this bank stuff?
Yeah, this is I would say this is like cold open, like where.
Oh, great!
Like,
yeah, cut to the chase. Get right to where the story, like the latest point in the story where you can start.
Speaking of a chase, that's actually a good part for me to jump in. The chase takes place when Melancholy and Carnival are chased away by the bank people, and they're like, "Give us back our money! Give us back our money!" And they're like, "We don't know what you're talking about. We don't understand this this idea of money and stuff like that." But it turns out that Melancholy actually does know about trusts and bonds, and what he's done is he went and hacked into the bank system, and he hacked and got and transferred all the bonds while Carnival was like running away from the bankers. Melancholy transferred all these trusts and bonds into a secure account off the coast of the Philippines.
Right. And the reason that they're doing this is the fun part, because like we see them being these like hardened criminals and they're committing these crimes and they're stealing from people. But why? Like, we don't know. We just think, oh, they love to steal like thieves. We find out at the end that they've got a child together at home, the first armadillo. And they are trying to save this armadillo. It's like Children of Men. So it's a turtle crossed with an aardvark. It's like Children of Men. They're at the end. They actually we are going to rip off the last scene of Children of Men. They actually, so spoiler alert for Children of Men. We will have the Carnival and Melancholy will be in a rowboat rowing away from a war-torn area, holding their
war-torn Cleveland. That's with
Cleveland,
that's the river that catches on fire, I believe, often. So
yeah,
it'll be a fiery
I think
river.
It happened again today. They're dumping more chemicals in Ohio every day.
And then like they have like a tagline. They have like you go, Sid, and then I'll lay back
how's
in.
this feel? Like, are you?
I love this idea. I'm thinking that maybe, I know you guys are really into Cleveland, but I was thinking maybe that this could take place on Mars instead. That could be something that's new. But I was really curious of like, why this story and why now?
Great question.
That's a great question.
Great question. It's a great question.
And we actually
we
talked about this a lot
Aardvark
before we came in here.
We do because Aardvark's always like, I don't understand what's happening. I'm just a lowly woodland creature. And then Melancholy the turtle is always like, what don't you understand about like global economic finance, right? So it's like it's this learning process where the one character is always like, I don't know anything, and the other character is like, I know everything, and so it's just kind of right. So it's kind of like an allegory.
Well, we hear millennials complain a lot too about like how there's not enough like financial planning classes in school, and this is actually kind of driven towards that. Like, so in this. Melancholy at some point actually starts an LLC, and you can see how that whole process works out, and you find out how you can like start your own business and then take advantage of programs that the government does. Yeah. All that stuff is covered in the film.
We want to get granular with it. Like, we really want to like procedurally go through like how to like set up an LLC, like raise funds, right? Like pay your tax liabilities. Like, I think that's the heart of the movie, really.
A little known fact is that the forms for an LLC were written by David Mamet. And if you actually play them out, like they are some of the most like intense forms that you've ever filled out.
I just want you all to know that this is definitely getting greenlit. The budget doesn't matter because it's your lucky day. Turtles are my favorite animal.
Okay.
Yeah, if you thought Tangled cost a lot of money, you just wait for Melancholy Carnival.
Aren't you guys glad we changed it from a fucking fox right before we came in the room?
Yeah,
I'm. That was a good call. All right.
We saw the turtle sticker on your door.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, that was really smart because I'm in. This is a
amazing.
go.
What a green light.
This is also a really nice corner office, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Really nice.
I have worked so hard for it.
And we have a title. We have a title for you. Oh. It's Carnival and Melancholy presents Paperwork.
Yeah.
Dig into that.
Right?
Can you see the poster?
Because you think it's like
that's the tagline. Dig into that.
Dig into that. Can you see the poster?
I
so
can't.
Like in animated features, you can go anywhere, right? They can do all kinds of things. They could go to different planets. They could go back and forth in time. They're like, because it's animation. But we want to like get into like what if a turtle and an aardvark just kind of sat at a desk and like got to work, at all the paperwork they had to fill out.
They single-handedly, look, spoiler alert, in the sequel, they're going to single-handedly turn around the economy of Cleveland and Ohio as a state. They're going to return it to its former glory.
From their base on Mars.
Yeah,
they're going to fix
base on Mars.
Yeah. Definitely.
Let's try not to contradict the executive in the room. I mean, it's a no-no.
I think this is really great.
And that is the last bit of our recording from 2023. Thanks for listening to that throwback episode. It's crazy to think that Carnival and Melancholy have been such a successful thing. Like you talked about what the sequel in that clip. You talked about what the sequel was going to be.
Yeah.
There have been 7 in a TV show. There's stuff that I don't even know about. I know that I'm cashing those checks.
Yeah, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson voiced Melancholy, and
it was the best thing that's ever happened
Kevin
in
Hart
my
was
career.
the little turtle. No, he's Kevin Hart. I'm sorry, so sorry. Kevin Hart was the baby armadillo.
Right.
But you know who was remarkably good in the third movie was Cate Blanchett.
Oh,
fantastic.
And the Oscar first Oscar nom for a leading actress in an animated series. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I raged. Oh, I passed out in the Vanity Fair fountain, remember?
Your photo on the cover,
Do you remember?
I don't. I saw the pictures.
They love us there, though.
TMZ.
They still love us there.
Yeah.
You were
Guys,
wild in those days.
It's 2029, and we are just about to wrap up this wonderful anniversary episode of Comedy Filmmakers Motivation Monday 2029. Steve, as always, it's great having you here.
Thanks.
Would you come back?
I will come back. I have to say, in closing, that when we first started, I feel like I had so much to kind of teach you and impart to you. And I just feel like the tables have turned. I learned so much from you guys.
You don't have to say
No,
that.
no, it's true, though.
The student
It's
becomes
true,
the
though.
teacher.
Yeah. Like when you could take the pebble. Yeah, the whole thing.
All right. Just real quick, just everybody remember to take the little green pill that's delivered to your house every morning. If you haven't taken it, you know what's going to happen. So just go ahead and take that pill. Or the feds are coming. So I love to remind people because I've forgotten once, and the whole process.
We have to say that at the end of every episode.
I do want to say, Steve, thank you so much. We ordered you a Plan B, so you're gonna get home safe tonight, and we're so happy that you were here to record with us. We'll see you really soon for our weekly Zoom meeting. I can't wait to get this.
Yeah,
going.
we're so pumped about that. And we'll be for our listeners, we will be recording the Zoom meetings with Steve and putting that on Patreon.
I feel like maybe because I'm self-conscious, I don't like being on film, but I do feel like I ruined this episode. So for all those listening to this episode, I would only say don't worry, next week it'll be super interesting and funny.
I would say if anything ruined this episode, it's your gardeners in the background that keep walking back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's they're upstaging.
Have there been people in the background?
Yeah, there's people walking back and forth. But what is it?
Yeah.
Is that's the main house in the background there? What is that behind you? Is that the main house?
That's the main house. Yep. That's the main house, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Gotcha.
then that's the parkland. That's actually
See,
that's
is that your gardener?
Park.
I bet you don't even know your gardener's name.
First of all, it's my security, and second of all, his name is Curtis.
This episode is a great example of when you have a mentor and someone you work with and you really look up to, and you're so excited to have them on the episode, and then it ends up being the worst episode. And I think that this was just a great learning experience about expectations. And I think it's also that this episode is real proof that anyone can make it, and there's all kinds of people in this industry that are working, and
full uncut episode on Patreon.
We've got nowhere to go from here but up.
Never meet your heroes.
yeah, it's time for me to record my 45-minute Patreon special. Yeah.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, guys.
Comedy Filmmakers Motivation Monday, the podcast, is a production of Dark Matter Entertainment and Phantom Strain Pictures. Our producer is Sasha Nonis Barnes. Our theme song is by Joseph Colmanero. Find us online, on YouTube, on Instagram, @SidandMike, or email us at sidandmikenyc@gmail.com.